And just some of the things to think about, you as a patient or you as a loved one going in and having a procedure done. The role of a technologist is pretty important, and I would advise everyone to be an advocate and ask questions. You know, technologists need to make sure that they know why you're here, what medications you're on, what it is that is important for us to know, because we're only capturing a short period of time when you come in for a routine EEG. So it's taking a history. Some of you may, and hopefully, have been experienced a technologist marking up your head with a grease pencil or a marking tool with a measuring tape. It's imperative to make sure that those electrodes are placed symmetrically. Does anybody know why I say it's imperative for it to be placed symmetrically? Yeah, very, very true. Thank you. We're comparing one side of the brain to the other, and the waveforms should be symmetrical, and if they're not, why is that? And you want to ensure that those electrodes are placed correctly, because we're going to rule that out that yes, they're placed correctly. Now it's like, okay, there's a difference in one side of the brain to the other. What exactly is going on? Is this the area that may be causing you to either have your seizures, have your events, and trying to figure out what's happening? So that's important. And I'm old school. I've been in the field for 35 years. That's like basic fundamentals. That's one of them.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes I get this question is for the facilities that use caps. Some of you may be familiar with a cap that gets put on or a net that gets put on. Some techs will still measure and put those on, and that's why they're doing that, is to ensure that when it lands on your head, they're recording from an exact, precise spot.
Yeah, and Melissa can get into a little bit more. Vendors are doing a great job of perfecting this and helping us, especially if they're in urgent situations and there's not a technologist there. It's like, what do we have that can definitely help you get an answer to help treat this patient immediately. And so this is just giving you a little bit of an idea of what to expect during an electrode application. You may have someone marking and measuring, rubbing a sandy solution on your scalp. You might feel a little bit scratchy, it's just rubbing off any natural oils. And then they start applying the electrodes. Two different ways to do this. They can be applied with paste, which comes out very easily, or some of you may have already been involved with floating. It's a glue-like substance, has that lovely ether smell, and when that hits the air, it draws a piece of plastic film over the electrodes to ensure that they stay hopefully good for you on your scalp. And that's important when you start thinking about for long-term studies, or when someone's having an event. Think about it. If someone has a generalized seizure and they're moving around, you don't want those electrodes to come off. So how do we make sure that they stay on secure? We could just go through that part. And I just actually talked about that. Some of the things when you come in for a routine EEG, you may be asked to sleep or to be sleep deprived. Some of the things to think about is, why is my physician asking for this and why can we get a longer EEG? When you think about it, we're only capturing 20 to 30 minutes of a recording to look at your brain activity. Sleep deprivation can actually be an activating procedure. You may see a normal EEG while you're awake, abnormal while you're asleep. So we want to see those transitions. And so that's hence one of the things. And then there's also a few other activation procedures. We have photostimulation, where there's flashing lights. You know, in some people, that can cause them to have one of their events. We can also track with brain activity on the back of your head where vision is located. We can track that almost simultaneously with the brain of the flash. For us, we would be looking at that and saying, is this normal or not? If one side of the brain is being able to track this, the other is not, which side is normal. So it's very fascinating when you start to think about the brain. And then hyperventilation, where you start doing a deep breathing exercise, that can also elicit some events, especially in kids. Absence, typically called epileptic seizures, they may be elicited by just this simple activation procedure. Okay, after the EEG, very simple. If you're coming in just with paste on, the technologist should be able to remove that very easily with just soap and water. The glue, the collodion, they should be using a remover and getting the majority out, so just so you're aware of those kind of things. And then we will have a neurologist or an epileptologist review that study, whether it be an hour study, 24, 48 hours, 72 hours. They will go through all of that, and then they will formulate an interpretation or a description of of that EEG and then provide that to the referring physician or your partner of care. You ready to move forward? Thank you. Some of the things that you would think about after having an outpatient EEG or a routine EEG, a physician may say, okay, based on what you're telling me, we may need to go a step further and have long-term monitoring or have an ambulatory EEG. And with that, you may either come back in, and be admitted to an epilepsy monitoring unit, where the environment is you may, if you're on medication, have some of your meds decreased. You're maybe in an environment where there's a nursing and technologist EEG and video recording 24/7 to hopefully capture some of those events to see if we can correlate those to and help better diagnose. In some cases, some patients may have an ambulatory EEG where they can either come in and have electrodes applied, and then they go home with equipment with either a recording device and a video device, so you can capture what it's like for you to be under your normal stressors in your own environment. So there's pros and cons to both. Going home with that equipment, we want to make sure nothing happens to those electrodes. We want them to stay on, right? When you're in a closed monitoring unit, we have the ability to ensure technical integrity, right? But then also you're sitting there for hours on end and not under the same usual stressors. So there's differences, and that will be up to your physician to decide on what is best suited for you. And that's just giving you what I had just discussed about the pros and cons.
Okay. So you want to move on?
And then just the kind, when you're in an EMU, you have the nurses, you have the technologists, you have the physicians. If you're in a teaching hospital, you may have residents and students coming in. But just so you know, a lot of people are coming in there and talking to you like every hour of the hour. It's just more of getting as much information as possible. And you may be in there for possible surgical workup for an intervention to help improve one's quality of life area. So if we're working on for possibly removing an area of your brain that may be causing seizures. So it's pretty important when you look at this diagnostic workup. Okay. Do you have any, just an idea? This is just more of an outpatient setting that can happen before you go in. Either, through an emergency room, it's not uncommon that someone may come in through an emergency room and then be admitted. Okay, so this is where I'd like to bring in Melissa when we start getting into the equipment. Some of you may have had ambulatory EEGs, and you may have had in-home care where someone comes to you, a skilled technologist is coming into your home and setting you up and then with video and EEG. Or you may go to an office or to your physician's office or wherever you go for your outpatient. Actually go home and having all that equipment applied, right? So the electrodes on your way home. So I thought it'd be great if you can actually see sort of what it could be like in an emergency situation with a baby, as well as pediatrics or even into teenagers. Here's some of a demonstration of what it would actually look like, and then the equipment that is used.
So hello everyone, I'm Melissa Berg, and I work for Mark Twain Riverboat Systems. I'm actually an EEG tech by trade.
Okay, sorry,
for
minimize.
years. I won't go into exactly how many years. It's a long time. But basically, I wanted to show you our ambulatory EEG system here that has become very popular with neurologists to send the patients home with the EEG system, and they record for 24, 48 to 72 hours. I don't know how many people in this room have been involved in routine EEGs or ambulatories. I don't know where your background is from, but usually if you're going for a workup like Mary mentioned, you'll go into an office and get a 20-minute EEG. If you're lucky, you'll get drowsy. The thing that's really great about ambulatory EEG is you go in and out of your normal stages of sleep during the night. We've all heard of there's several stages of sleep, REM sleep, things like that. Well, during sleep is when you really can find abnormalities of EEG. So if you go in for a 20-minute recording every 6 months and they say you're normal, you might be actually having abnormalities when you're sleeping, but you can't see that on a 20-minute study. So that's what's really nice about this. The other thing is, if it's normal for 3 days, that's a really good sign to you that maybe you're okay, maybe not seizures. So I just kind of wanted to show you this. This is our system, ambulatory EEG. This is my cute little baby that like to bring everywhere with me. This is our neonatal monitoring electrode array. Babies that are born sometimes have a lot of issues at birth. So this is a new electrode array that we've developed that's a non-invasive electrode. Sometimes they have to use needle electrodes in the neonate and or NICU, and so we're trying to get away from that. So we've developed this nice array that can just go directly on and the nurses can apply it. So I just wanted to show you this. For the ambulatory EEG, we send this home with 2 cameras. Basically, it folds up, you carry it home, you open it up, and you're ready to go. You have a little ambulatory recorder here, and this is usually what your head looks like after it's hooked up. And you could actually have the collodion applied for long term, or now, many times now they're using other methods trying to get away from the glue and this kind of stuff. But as long as it stays on, that's the goal. And again, symmetry is of the utmost importance because you have to be recording from the exact spot on the left as you are on the right. This is our ambulatory recorder. It's quite popular and very well known for probably the past 18 to 20 years in EEG, which is pretty long. And you would wear this either on your hip in a little backpack. And let's say you have an episode. There's a button here that you press, and it'll mark it right on the EEG. The other thing that a parent or the patient can even do is they can annotate just by touching the screen what their symptoms may be, or that they're going to sleep, or they woke up in the middle of the night and they feel like maybe they had an episode, and you can even talk and say what your symptoms are because you're being videotaped. So then the neurologist can go back and kind of decide what's going on with your brain waves during that time. Do I have any questions at all? Yeah.
I have a 2-year-old having some seizures. She's had one take home 3 days. But a 2-year-old, to get her dressed is hard enough sometimes. You don't carry around a backpack.
Right.
There would be like technology for like Bluetooth sensors and just a cap without, a backpack running around.
Well, this is actually Bluetooth. I actually have it connected via the cable today.
Okay.
But it can go in a backpack, which is really good for kids because their center of gravity, I mean,
That's what we had to do. But I was just wondering if without the actual backpack portion, without all the wires, is there one,
Not yet.
sensors? But
Not yet. I'm sure someday there will be.
Yeah.
We still need a wire to go into the amplifier at this point. I'm sure at some point that will be invented. But
I've heard of a company a couple of years ago that was trying to work on something like that. I think they've run into that problem of the cabling needing the amplifier issue. We're not, as she's saying, not there. It is being looked into though.
yeah, because a 2-year-old.
Is that what's happening? That is that on the signal.
Yeah, that's.
So usually this isn't plugged into a cable, and so the child can be running around the room.
That's what
this
she
is
had.
all attached to the
That's what she had. Was
Right.
a backpack, and she
Right,
ran around.
and you have to let your kid run around.
Yeah. it was-
That's the nice thing about ambulatory EEG is that they're in the epilepsy monitoring unit. Most of the times they're not even allowed to get out of bed unless they have help from the nurse. And that's not really their normal daily behavior. So a lot of times the patients will go in there and they never have a seizure.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a nice way to kind of do it at home, let the patient still be in their environment and the parents as well. The tricky part is keeping them in the video, especially when they're 2. But this is nice because we have 2 videos, so you can kind of aim them around. Also at night when they go to sleep and the lights go out, it's got an infrared sensor so that you can still see the patient very well. It's just really imperative to get those 2 to 3 day recordings for diagnosis. I've had so many patients come into my office and they've been misdiagnosed for 10 years. Saying, no, you don't have seizures. Or maybe you do have seizures and you've been on medication, they don't have seizures. They were really never worked up other than a routine EEG, and maybe someone saw a little blip and they thought it was a spike, so they put them on meds, which is really overkill. So we just kind of wanted to show you today the different things that we have going on for EEG, and we'd really like to educate the fact that it's important to have really good registered technologists to hook you up, and also really good equipment. This equipment is really solid. I mean, without wires coming from the electrode, I don't know what kind of signal you would get. It would probably be very expensive to actually do. So this is gold standard right now. In fact, it's probably ahead of its time. All of this can also be sent to the cloud. So if you're at home and I'm your tech and you think your daughter's maybe having a seizure, you can push the button. You can call me. I can look at it. The neurologist can look at it. Yes, it was a seizure, or no, it wasn't. Or we can just check in from time to time, making sure all the electrodes are still attached. Because sometimes a couple fall off, and parents don't always know, and it's not like you can put them back on. So there's all these new ways with the cloud that we can do intervention, and then or say, hey, I'm sorry, but can you bring your child back? We're going to fix some electrodes, or I'm going to come out to your house. I noticed that you needed to fix some electrodes. Because we want this recording to be really good for 24 hours. We don't want it to be on there for 3 days. And in one day, half of them fell off, and no one knew. Or the plug came out, or the battery, whatever the case may be, it's all happened. Then you come back and say, oh, sorry, we have to repeat that for 3 days on your 2-year-old. So this is a really good cost-effective measure with the cloud now. And there's other ways to log into the system as well, but that's pretty cutting edge. So do I have any other questions? So are some of you guys students back here? Yeah? From the EEG school? Oh, okay, just students in general. Oh, okay. What brings you into this room today?
Or to the expo.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to look at the different epilepsy and different things that you have. That's pretty interesting.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to know who's in the room so I can speak to you guys. Anybody else have any questions or ideas or thoughts that they'd like to?
Watching, right? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
What is it that your brain, the patient's brain home?
So this whole bag, and it all zips up, and when you come home, literally you open it up and it's ready to go. The patient would have this on their head, and their head would be wrapped up with a gauze.
Do you apply those with collodion?
You can apply with collodion, you can apply with there's other methods to apply it. That's pretty gold standard and common, but there's like a lot of people doing it differently now. But the goal is, though, you want it to stay in place. You don't want this electrode to slip into that electrode and come all over around here, and then when you're sleeping, and then 3 days later, it's not going to be a good recording. So, but there are other methods, and then they would have this either in a little pouch or a backpack. So really, it's very, very minimal.
So just that is connected to the patient, those two areas.
Yep.
And then your camera.
Yeah.
The camera's connected to.
Yeah, the camera's
a Wi-Fi.
The camera would be showing up here. Unfortunately, today it's not connected. With this, I didn't have that on my program, but you would see yourself right in the video, or you'd see the patient, so you'd know whether they were in view or not in view. And what we usually do is say, sit them in a room, or have them play in a room, and you kind of just, kind of film the whole room as much as you can. The other thing you can do is then you push the button when the patient has a seizure. Make sure they're in the video, so that the physician reviewing and the tech reviewing can see all the things that they're doing. So yeah, pretty nice setup.
No, that's great. That's great. Sorry.
I was just going to say, as far as the parents go that in the room or patients, be proactive when you go into your EEG. Just don't go in, sit down. If you have questions, ask them. If you're wondering why, you've always had HV in the past and they're not doing it, ask a technologist why, if that's a concern of yours. Or the photic, or, hey, I've got time. Can we let my kid try to get some more sleep? Be proactive. And a lot of times the tech will go, oh, okay, yeah, I got another 10 minutes. I can run it for you to see if we can get some sleep on it. So all I'm saying is be proactive. I used to have seizures myself. I tried to be proactive with little understanding when I was a child, and something as simple as HV that was never done on me would have gotten the answer my doctor was looking for. So that's why I say be proactive. Ask questions and say why not, or anything else. The technologists you have, like Mary's talking about, are registered. Find out if they're registered. If you've got other questions regarding epilepsy, that can be a good source, because a lot of people don't like to or forget the questions when they're in with the doctor. And if a technologist will answer them if they're legally can. So there's other things you can do other than just going in, keeping your mouth shut and walking out. And I think Jeanette there might be able to answer. To me, when running an EEG, I like that parents or the patients are interested in what's going on. It makes for a much more interesting study from our perspective too.
When you have a conversation, though, a lot of things can start. You start understanding family better. The conversation.
Absolutely, and that's why we talked about this earlier. It's imperative in finding out the patient's history, family history, medications, what the concerns are, why they're here, right? And making sure that in that short amount of time, whether it be an hour and a half or 2 hours, that's all we get with this person. We never see them again, or it may be, coming in, yes, it could be regulars. Making sure we provide the best service and provide that information to the physician, because we're the eyes and ears, right? Yeah. And making sure that we get all of that information that's needed, so if that physician was looking at it, every question would be answered.
Those little things your kid may be doing that you're kind of wondering, but you don't want to bring up to the doc because you kind of think they're kind of dumb things and probably shouldn't be brought to his attention, or you don't want to take up his time. Take up our time with those questions. If anything, we can pass it along, potentially.
I think to that point, too, a lot of parents will wonder if certain things a seizure. They'll maybe have their main seizure, but then they have other little things going on, and they wonder, is that abnormal? The nice thing about the ambulatory is you can press the button, and then let's say they'll say, you know what, Mom, all those were nothing. That was fine. So it's kind of very relieving to know as a parent that those aren't seizure related. So it kind of gives a little decompression to mom and dad a little bit, knowing for sure.
We're not allowed to say that. We say those aren't that bad, so we want some more, or we're not worried about those ones. We want these other ones.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
You don't want to diagnose the patient.
No. So basically, our job is to acquire as much information as possible, and we know, right? As trained technologists, skilled technologists, we should know: is this something that's credible or not, if we will, and continue to go and say, maybe you want to capture a few more, and you can't at time allows, right? The role of a technologist, we can capture information and describe what we see, but we cannot give an interpretation. That is from the physician. So hence the reason why it's so important that you have a well-trained technologist doing this study. Was there a question over here by any chance? That I may have missed? Your hand was up there? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And again, for the students who came in, neurodiagnostics, this field's wide open. You go into this field, and I said earlier, you won't have a job for the rest of your life anywhere. There's a national shortage for people going into this field. And I really don't know, outreach, networking, if people are aware of the field that we're in. And I think coming to this expo, it's great because there's a lot of networking and exposure. And some people, may have personally been connected with someone that's had epilepsy, or themselves, or the medical field, or looking at healthcare. But as we grow this program, this expo continues to grow, right? And network and letting people know and removing the stigma, right, of seizures. I think the more people that are involved, the better our community, our epilepsy community will be for this. So, when we come to the ASET table in 205, there's information about schools, even if it's not even for yourself. If someone's searching for a job, the education, I think is for the programs that are out there and what you get, just as a basic foundation, you can spin off and go into further healthcare if you'd like, or into something else that they shouldn't happen to hear about.
Yeah. And we're primarily talking about EEG. I'm not sure when some of you came in, but we do things like evoked potential, nerve conduction, intraoperative monitoring. There's a lot to our field, and that's why Mary is saying you can have a career and change it up as you go throughout your working lifetime, doing different things and keeping the job interesting in what you're doing.
I think EEG's the pace.
It's the
Yeah,
basic
it is the base.
It's the basic fundamental, and you get that, and you start from there, and you know, when you think about it, we've been in the field for numerous years. I've spun off into management and dealing with operations and leadership. Epilepsy is my first love. I hope in my lifetime we find a cure for epilepsy. You know, I really do. And then, you know, Melissa's been around and it has been patient care and has gone the route of research as well as then into the vendor. And you know, there's different aspects. And
Yes.
it's still patient care. So you think about it, there's many avenues. And we network and we collaborate and we work very, very well together because the first priority, this is patient-centric. Our patients are our priority. And what can we do to help improve one's quality of life? Does anyone have any questions? Yeah,
Excuse me, I just want to, can I speak up?
Yes, absolutely, please do.
I just want to like plug the program to the Neurodiagnostics program. I'm Marianne Griffin. My husband and I own Lifelines, and I've been in EEG technologies for 38 years or so, 39 maybe. And I just gave a presentation at our local high school because there is such a shortage for neurodiagnostic technologists. And of course, the question everybody wants to know first is how much money. Because you don't want to waste your time going into a career that's not going to be able to support yourself. And I live in the Midwest, and so I know the West Coast and East Coast usually are higher than the Midwest on salaries, but starting salaries near our area in St. Louis are in the mid-40s. We're fresh out of a 2-year EEG program, not even 2 years, 21 months. And there are places that will give you salary increases when you get your registry. My son is going to the same EEG school that I went to now. And I know, and we're going to graduate exactly 40 years apart, which is a little freakish. But he had somebody from one of the hospitals in St. Louis say to him, if you want a job when you get done, he hadn't even stepped foot in the school yet, but they offered him a job before he even finished applying to go to school. So there's such a demand. So if there's anybody has questions, please come by the Lifelines booth too, and we'll be happy to talk to you. Because it's a very rewarding field.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah, so I just wanted to plug that a bit. Sorry.
Well, just to expound on what Marianne said, my mom's an EEG tech. So
Same here.
take my word.
I went from being an EEG patient with seizures to a technologist without seizures. So, yeah.
You just don't know. You just don't know. One decision can change your whole life, right? Just one meeting one person, something you never even thought about. Any questions?
I've been doing it since '79, and I've never been out of work for more than a couple years.
There you go. Living proof.
I made $100,000 last year.
Yes.
Awesome.
I was going to say, I know EEG techs that are making more than
Yes.
$100,000 a year.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, more now.
Yeah.
Interrupted.
oh gosh, yeah, they make way more.
Very, very true. Okay, so if there's any questions, there's the Lifelines and ASET are right next to each other, just like one or two booths away. And we're here both days, so if you have any questions, please feel free to come and see us. But I do appreciate everyone taking the time to come in here and listen to us explaining about the role of a neurodiagnostic technologist. So good luck to everyone. Thank you.